Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I can hear you.
Panelists, good afternoon, our invited guest. Sorry for the technical hitch from Gbemi's side. So this afternoon, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and future of work. So why does artificial intelligence, why does it matter? It's become one of the critical things that the world is talking about. We talk about climate change, we talk about artificial intelligence. And for some, what is artificial intelligence? They don't care, they don't think it's something that they should worry their brain about. For others, it's a fearful thing, believing that maybe artificial intelligence is going to disrupt what they do, and maybe they will even be out of job. There's a research that shows that AI will possibly displace about 300 million or eliminate about 300 million jobs, worldwide. And for some, artificial intelligence presents an opportunity to leverage so that they can work smarter, better, enhance their skill, create more opportunities, and what have you. Who will anchor this program for us? Each of our panelists, we have about 15 minutes to make the presentation. Our invited guests, participants from all over the world, we ask that note your questions. After the presentation, we are going to have an interactive section. And from that interactive section, you'll be able to ask all the questions that you have. But before we start, let me introduce to you our panelists. The first of the panelists I'm introducing, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, is Professor Mugendi Mireta. Professor Mugendi is a widely traveled disciplinary designer, industrial designer with experience in design, education, and research. He currently works as the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Administration, Planning, and Finance at Machakos University, Kenya. He's very skilled and is socially conscious in fields like industrial design, human factors engineering, advertising, marketing, and what have you. He's a well-studied individual with bachelor's degree in designs, master's degree in industrial design, a higher postgraduate diploma in higher education and training, as well as doctorate in universal design. His educational journey has taken him to several countries. Professor Mugendi has taught in diverse locations such as Kenya, Botswana, Canada, India, Norway, among others. He has special interest in design thinking and how design thinking can be used to advance developmental agenda on the African continent. Prof holds the UNESCO Chair in Cloud Computing for Sustainable Development at Machakos University, and additionally is a founding member and Simba Fellow of Pan-African Design Institute and Design Council of Africa, and is associated with various other international networks. Prof, you are welcome.
Thank you, Kunle. It's an honor.
I would also like to introduce to you a very dynamic individual, Chinwe Okoli, who currently serves as special advisor to the governor of Anambra State on innovation and business incubation. Of course, you will agree with me that if you talk about innovation, artificial intelligence is one of those key tools that have come to redefine our world. And I would like to have his perspective, especially from the public sector. She's a thought leader on youth development. She has contributed at high-level forums globally. She's the founder of Grand Africa Initiative GAIN. Chinwe has imparted over 1 million African youth through education, entrepreneurship, and innovation program. She pioneered Nigeria's first university embedded innovation hub and science park. She served as a technical assistant at the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Nigeria, and she played a key role in South Africa-Nigerian Youth Dialogue, promoting integration and peace. She's also author of 2 books, and those books are available on Amazon. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics from University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and a master's degree in public policy from University of London, and a diploma in management of higher education institute from Galilee International Management Institute, Israel. She is a widely traveled individual, and she specializes in public policy design, managing business relationship, and fostering innovation ecosystem. Good afternoon, Chinwe. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Really delighted to be here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Last but not on the list of our panelists is another dynamic individual, a widely traveled individual with over 20 years professional practice. And it's no other person than Mr. Olajide Modele, who covers multiple IT domains that include IT consulting practice, product development, IT governance, IT strategy, cyber security, enterprise and solution architecture, and software quality assurance. He works in private consulting practice for government and private sector, investment banking, telecoms, and healthcare. Jide has keen interest in understanding practical use of cases of artificial intelligence across domains and industry where he works, with particular interest in the convergence of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and quantum computing. Jide, it's good to have you with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Okay, listeners and our participants, we are going to, without much ado, we are starting, and to kickstart this program this afternoon is no other person than Prof. Professor Mugendi. Let's have your presentation. We want to have your perspective. We have been waiting. We've been waiting to see your perspective. So let's see what it's going to look like.
Thank you. I'm going to start. So let me know if you see my presentation. Hope you can see it.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So it's really an honor to be among such distinguished friends in Africa. And the topic, I think, is particularly prescient based on the trends and the direction the country, the continent, indeed the world is heading to. So I'm going to start with the Nigerian proverb that Chinua Achebe famously quoted from some of the books he wrote, like Things Fall Apart and No Longer at Ease. But I think it's important that we have an African perspective, and I often speak of Africa with a K, and if I have time, I'll explain that. But it's basically Africans telling their own story. So until lions have their own historians, tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And as you know, he was looking at the way in which narratives are co-created and how sentiments are expressed externally. So Africa, unfortunately, has not had many historians, or if the historians existed, they didn't get the platforms that they deserved. So hopefully this conversation is going to give us a perspective of what this AI and the future of work speaks to in Africa. And if you look at the way in which we look at our lion, and all the images that you will see that are illustrated actually are using AI. So AI is a tool that we can actually use to illustrate. So we have the African lion in the savannah, and on the right, you have the African lion in the Silicon Savannah, because of the digitalization and the agenda of Africa moving forward very confidently. And hopefully this is what we do. So if we look at the world as 100 people, we realize there's many things that people all over the world need to address. In the context of this conversation, 22% have access to computers. And yet, when you look at the ability to access mobile phones and other gadgets, you'll find that actually more people have access to mobile phones and smart devices than have computers. But this is the direction that AI is taking us, that the content we consume actually is being consumed mainly on mobile phones. You should just see our youth in universities or colleges sitting in corners where there's free hotspots, enjoying TikTok and other media. Then if we look also at the future of the world in terms of the megatrends that have been identified by all kinds of key practitioners in that space, economists, and I'm sure Jide would concur, and also Kunle. There's 5 major megatrends. One is obviously the shifting economic power. We've heard of BRICS. We've seen how powerful BRICS has become. Now the older economies like Italy and others are declining, and newer economies like China are moving very fast. We have another acronym, because BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But there's a newer block that is known as MINT, and that is Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. So Africa is well represented, and Nigeria, being the largest economy on our continent, is rightfully, representing Africa even in the emerging blocks. Second one is climate change and resource scarcity. I think everyone knows that. I think we'll be discussing the issues of UN SDGs, how the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals can be tackled. And I believe the one on climate change is quite specific. And this is across the board. As populations grow, we are already past 8 billion. We need to be smarter in the way we deal with resources on the planet. And then number 3, which is very central to what we're discussing today, is technological breakthroughs. So the rise of AI, machine learning, the Internet of Things. This is really going rapidly across. I'm an educator as my day job. And one of the first things we've noticed is how easy it is for students to use ChatGPT and other generative software programs to actually create content and try to pass it off as their own. So the plagiarism software we used when we were studying, like Turnitin, now has to have plugins that actually have AI detection capabilities. And I think a young man from studying in the US, but he's actually from, I think, South Korea, came up with a new software called GPT-0. And GPT-0 allows teachers and others to pass content through and see if it's plagiarized. And then, of course, number 4 is demographic and social change. We've seen refugees moving across Africa, suffering brain drain. And this is also linked to climate change in a way, because agriculture has been the mainstay of most Africans. And then also aging. And this phenomenon of aging actually is one of the catalysts for the advancement of AI. As people get into older age, they need to live more independently. They rely on technology to give them assistive living, smart homes, and those kind of things. And then obviously the 5th one is rapid urbanization. We know the major cities. We're in Nairobi. We know Nigeria. Lagos is one of the mega cities in Africa, and so on. So very quickly, the top also skills for the 21st century are changing. But the one thing that hasn't changed between 2015 and 2020 is the complex problem solving. And then number 2 in the 2020s, which is critical thinking, is actually very much what is going to drive the kind of things that we are doing. And emotional intelligence, and I'm happy emotional intelligence is up there in number 6, because when we talk about artificial intelligence, we forget we have to also bring natural intelligence along. We are not to alienate natural intelligence in any way. So I subscribe to the multiple intelligences model of thinking, so that we as humans don't negate the intelligences that people naturally use. And I've deliberately talked about natural there, because when we get to artificial intelligence, we see that the 3 major stages or steps or types of artificial intelligence, already we've been doing number 1, which is using computers that imitate our intellect and behavior, whether it's our smartphones with Siri, Alexa, and so on, that basically uses that kind of using algorithms and big data to predict some of these things. Machine learning, again, this is where AI now starts to really be as smart as humans, and in some instances even smarter. And we speak also of the deep learning, which is going to or artificial super intelligence, which is going to change the ball game. And a lot of people are scared, as Kunle introduced at the beginning. I think this is where a lot of the dystopian conversations and fears are, but that we can discuss. And so also transdisciplinarity. We've moved from looking at core disciplines to now interdisciplinarity and now transdisciplinarity. In the age of AI, we need to embrace the possibility that we are transcending traditional barriers, and we need to address that also. Let me see if I can just reduce this. I hope it's not been interfering with the presentation. But we also need to learn from the past. This is an Adinkra symbol known as Sankofa from the Akan people of Ghana. And there is basically two birds pruning themselves by looking back. We shouldn't, as Africans, and this is something that I celebrate and I'm very proud of being an African, that we always communitarian. We always embrace the collective. So let's tap into that wisdom. And one example is a gentleman called Ron Eglash, who's an ethnomathematician, who actually discovered that a lot of what we do in Africa is whether it's villages, the construction of structures traditionally, actually had deep geometric and mathematical richness. And he looked at even examples like the one I'm showing there of a woman from the Congo with her braided hair, and just how that is actually representing African fractals. We find it in patterns, in print, particularly from Nigeria, West Africa, Uganda, and even in Kenya. So we have this richness that we often don't celebrate. And so going back to the initial proverb that I shared, we need to be the historians of these African lions. Then leadership. Africa is a massive place. Kunle and I met in Nairobi recently, and we celebrated how often someone in the West might send you to greet someone in Nairobi when you live in Lagos, forgetting that Africa is actually much larger than the US. If you look at West Africa here, it's much larger than China, which has the world's, one of the largest populations, or India or Western Europe and so on. Now, if you look at this map, remember China is about 1.4 billion people. India is already slightly, I think, beyond that at 1.45. The US is about almost 400 million, and all these other countries fit comfortably in Africa. And we only have about 1.35 to 1.4 billion people, which is actually less than the population of India, which sits comfortably in Eastern Africa. So when we speak about Africa, I think AI is uniquely positioned to help us deal with this geographical divide. Because if we try to use traditional technologies to communicate and to advance ourselves, our continent is vast, and it will take far too long to do that. We also know where the clusters of populations are, and the traditional view that Africa was a place for extractive industries, whether they be natural or and you can see from the map. And then look at the sizes of the cities going towards 2025, which is next year. A place like Nigeria will be at about 16 million people, while Cairo will be at just around 14 million. So Africa is growing rapidly, and this is something we need to keep in mind. If you look at 1950, the populations that were there then, there was not a single African country in the top 12 countries that are most populous. Fast forward to 2013, Nigeria is smack in the middle representing Africa. And it's projected by the year 2050, Nigeria actually will be the third most populous nation in the world. It will have overtaken the US, and India will have, of course, overtaken China. And meanwhile, Ethiopia and Congo will join the top 12 most populous nations, according to those forecasts. So Africa is contributing in this initial first half of our century, around 54% of our population growth. That's significant. Remember, Africa is the youngest continent, so this is possibly a demographic dividend if we handle it well. So creativity is important, and I'd like to share the way in which some of this can happen. For example, there's a beautiful proverb from the savannah that says that those born on top of an anthill take a shorter time to mature. So this idea that the next generation, we talk about our children as being digital natives because they grew up at a time when technology was part of their life. I would consider my generation digital migrants, because we came into technology, came and found us, but we migrated into it and embraced as much as we could. But we have to admit that there are others who are what I would call the technological refugees, those who will flee from technology no matter how well you present it. And maybe this is a conversation we can have even in future talks. But I also believe in the leapfrog hypothesis. I honestly believe that Africa can move from these traditional societies, which is good because we have strong links with one another, go through, jump this delocalized global society that most of the Western world has gone through, and it's fragmented people quite severely, to this advanced local society, multi-local society that uses technology to create virtual communities, the way we use Facebook, or now we're using Zoom, to connect with one another very much like we'd have done physically using technology. And so if we think of Africa with its vastness, we saw the open spaces. So on the left, you'll see a typical scene of the Maasai people in Kenya, who are very well known for their respect of their own culture. So the image of Africa, even keeping its culture, but also being simultaneously very advanced and connected. This is the leapfrog hypothesis I'm speaking to. Or another scenario where I asked the AI to give me an idea of what Africa could look like in 2050. And you can see the cyborgs and drones and all that, and even points of even transhumanism, where we have augmented human capacity, sometimes replaced it with robotics, other times just giving us superhuman capabilities. So this is an example. Offered one or two case studies. Leti Arts is two young people, one from Ghana and another from Kenya, who started this idea of creating games that celebrate African legends and heroes, very much like the Marvel Comics characters. And then out in Accra, we have the Africa Robotics Network, where artificial intelligence is being championed. This is a group of students competing, and the ones you see here are from Tanzania. And the essence is to create practical, usable robots and robotics that is actually accessible because it's financially inclusive, but also it solves problems that are across the continent. We all know of the drone port in Kigali, Rwanda, which was a first in the world, where medicines were being used, carry critical medicines and even blood for transfusion to any part of Rwanda within 17 minutes of taking flight. And this was a leapfrog example of how, by using artificial intelligence and the cloud computing and other facilities, we are able to actually do things in a much more cost-effective manner. And in Kenya, a while back, we had a young man called Maurice Mbetsa, who developed a passenger drone, and this was being tested out in the savannah near Nairobi. So I asked, again, the AI to give me an idea of somewhere called Konza Technopolis. Konza Technopolis is about 70 kilometers outside of Nairobi, and it is built as Africa's first smart city. So it's being built using AI and they've already completed the horizontal infrastructure, and it's a Vision 2030 project for Kenya. And it's built it has already technologies that are very impressive, like automated solid waste disposal, all the fiber optics and connectivity is already done. And now they're actually building, they've even got an open university that uses open and distance e-learning as a way to engage with people. So this is exciting when you think about the possibilities. But what I like about Africa is this sense of hybridity. And even the AI seems to recognize that, because if you see the image on the left, you'll see giraffes, because it happens to be in Kenya, where we have a lot of wildlife. But at the same time, there's solar energy and other renewable sources of energy, but also high-tech, almost like a Dubai kind of environment. So having said that, we move to resilience, and this is the point I'm making about hybridity, that maybe as we look at AI, we can also think of solutions that are accessible to people, because even if things break down, they can still fix them. This is a gentleman in Botswana, out in the Kalahari Desert, with his vehicle that long died in terms of the engine, but he found a novel way of hitching his cabin to 3 donkeys here and keeping this vehicle practical. So maybe as a metaphor for Africa's development, we can think of hybrid solutions. So we have extreme high-tech AI, but at the same time, we have intermediate solutions that carry our communities with us. And finally, I'd like to say we need to really think about conviviality. Conviviality is this uniquely human attribute that no machine will ever copy. The empathy I have for another human being cannot be mimicked, no matter how we go to super intelligence. There's still something that is uniquely human that we should not lose. And I think Africa is the one place where this is expressed up to today, and very powerfully so. So if I can then show you this image that I asked the artificial intelligence engine to create, you can see conviviality is still very much Africans are about people. So as much as we have technology embedded in our lives, there's still a lot of interaction between individuals. And I think that's something we should not lose. So as I conclude, tomorrow belongs to those who plan for it today. This is an African proverb. And maybe the challenge for all of us is, because AI is already here, at different, someone once said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. So AI is already with us. So it's just that it's not evenly distributed. You'll find places like in Lagos with startups with very high-tech kind of AI, Nairobi, Cape Town, Johannesburg. Then there are other places where they're yet to catch up. So we already have it, and we're already seeing trends where AI is kicking up in, even though Africa only accounts for maybe about 13% of production of AI, but that is growing, hopefully, and this conversation can tap into some of those possibilities. So with that, I thank you. In this last image, I asked the AI to generate a happy African child, and that is where I'd like to end for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Awesome, Prof. We can see what AI can do, generating for us a happy African child. I'm happy that it's no longer the case of showing an African child who is naked, and all of that. There's a lot of things to take in, from what you have said that will interest us, and I believe we are going to come back to them later. I want to call on our next presenter, and that is Chinwe. Chinwe, over to you, please.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Lakunle, and thank you very much, Prof. I would say you've actually laid the background for the conversation. So let me quickly share my screen. Confirm if you can see my screen, please.
Yes.
Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
I can see
Yes,
it.
we can.
All right. Okay. All right. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, Dr. Lakunle and your team, for really bringing us all here today to have a conversation on a topic I really think it's a topic relevant today and tomorrow. Much of the conference is happening this year. I see AI at the front burner because that's the world wants to understand what is happening. Can we ignore it, or should we pay close attention, or is it going to disrupt us, or are we going to be part of the disruptors? And so that's really, really, really makes this really important. So I'm listening, and I think for the participants, this is going to be much of a conversation, because I think all of us here are exploring. We're still trying to understand what is happening in the AI space. Everybody from their own perspectives, just like Dr. Lakunle said earlier. So I'm speaking to all of you from Anambra State, Solution Innovation District, right here in Oka. And I just like to start, we just talk about artificial intelligence, AI, and then we assume that some people and everybody on this call already understands, but just for the sake of someone who might just be trying to make a sense of all of this. Artificial intelligence is just the intelligence of machines, let me put it that way in summary. And it contrasts the natural intelligence that we humans have, or even animals, or even dogs, you know. And I found that artificial intelligence, you know, it has, sometimes you see machine learning, people tend to take it to be different, but both machine learning and deep learning are subsets, let me put it that way, of artificial intelligence. So looking at this picture here, you see on the outer scale, you see artificial intelligence, which is any technique that enables computer to mimic a human being, you know, to behave like humans, like the robots we see and all of that. But then the machine learning is a subset of the AI. And this one includes, you know, like statistical techniques that, you know, enables the machines to improve on task with experience. And that's why they call machine learning. So they learn as they go ahead. But then you see the deep learning. This is about the algorithms that permit software to train itself to perform tasks. For instance, we talk about speech and image recognition. In fact, some of us actually just use our faces to open our phones and all of that, all of those neural networks. But all of these are integral part of the whole the artificial intelligence. And, you know, I would say artificial intelligence became a thing that everybody is aware of just from the last few years. I mean, the last 2-3 years. AI, everybody is aware of AI, is all over social media. But it will interest you to know that this dates back to the 1950s. So there I tried to, on this dashboard, I just tried to show the evolution, so to speak, of the artificial intelligence. So it's not a thing that started in 2023 or 2024. It goes back to 1950s, from Alan Turing's invention of the Turing test to 1960s of the ELIZA, the first chatbot, computer chatbot program, to the 1970s when IBM Deep Blue was a chess computer game that was made in 1977. And it played games, it won some and all of that. Then Siri for Apple users was announced in 2011, before we came to where we are today, the OpenAI, all of that, the ChatGPT and all of those things that are now what we know today. And you can tell it continues to evolve because every day you see new software, new app that is, you know, based on artificial intelligence, helping you do one thing or the other. So here I try to, because we're talking about AI and the future of work in Africa, I try to go back to Africa before this whole artificial intelligence conversation. Before it became popular around here in Africa, we've always had limited access to good quality education. In fact, I would say that since I could remember, we've always been talking about quality, you know, the quality of our education in Africa, how it can always get better. The access to healthcare, quality healthcare, medical tourism has been a thing for the longest time. Unemployment has always been a constant. We're only talking about how high or low or constant it is year on year. And then you talk about the traditional industries that, you know, dominated by manual labor and low productivity because it's strictly largely dependent on humans, right? And then the digital divide, which has been there and is still here till today. And this is actually one of the big things that keep Africans from driving this global disruption as much as we would like it. Just like Prof mentioned earlier, we have a huge population of young people. In fact, African Union puts it at between 15 and 35 years, about 420 million young people in Africa. So, and these are the you know, the class of people that are supposed to be at the forefront of, you know, inventing the new AI software, the new solutions, the new startups that are leveraging artificial intelligence to solve problems. But many of them are really impacted by some of these problems, the challenges I listed above. So there's this report by Statista, and that there we're just trying to see potential impact of AI on jobs in Africa. This 2024, Statista is already saying that youth unemployment is high. I mean, it's just about repeating what we've always known. And of course, it's higher in some parts of Africa, like South Africa has over 31.9%, followed by North Africa. West Africa seems to be the least in this report, but a significant portion of African workforce, those that are even employed right now, a significant portion of this African workforce currently have skills that don't match current job market trends. So over 40% of young workers struggle with the lack of necessary skills and qualifications. And then that brings me to the question, will AI worsen the already bad situation in Africa? In fact, I saw that Dr. Olakunle mentioned a figure about 300 million jobs that will be lost to AI. I saw this report by Forbes that predicted that by 2025, which is just next year, 85 million jobs would have been lost due to automation that is made possible by AI. But I don't know. Why would like to say jobs are lost? AI make us lose jobs due to automation. I think AI is also, other jobs are being created due to that same disruption that is happening. So right here, I try to make a sense of how AI is impacting us, how it's changing the workforce, how it's impacting each and every one of us. And you see that this is not something for some people, it's actually for everyone. So see here, we're talking about first automation of routine tasks. You go to mostly abroad, I think Africa, we are yet to get there, but we will get there soon. But mostly you get into supermarkets in Europe and America. You get what you want to get, you check yourself out, you pay, and you take your change if you have, and you move without necessarily interacting with any human being. But that is something that maybe before now, a lot of people would have been employed to attend to the customers. So that automation of routine tasks is already being powered by AI in many sectors. Then of course we see healthcare advancements. Today we're talking about telemedicine. We're talking about detecting diseases through AI, through even apps. In fact, some apps that you will download that will tell you how you sleep at night, and what you do at night, your blood pulse, and your pulse levels and everything. So we see that healthcare advancement. So this means one doctor could sit in his home or in his hospital and attend to so many people who would have otherwise required to come to hospital and see so many other doctors. So we see that change happening right there. And of course, it's also impacting drug discovery, disease detections, and all of that. Then we see enhanced customer care experience and even global reach. For instance, you that have businesses, no matter how small it is, you can even just go on Instagram. That's where your business is. You automate responses. You imagine the frequently asked questions for your business. You automate that. So someone comes and types whatever it is and gets an answer by a chatbot, by a robot. Even on Zoom right here, you have a problem. You go on their chat box, and then the AI powered chatbot will mostly respond to most of your problems until you get to the point that you require a human to really now attend to you. So that is the power of AI right there. Personal recommendations. You go on your feed on Facebook, for instance. What you see is not what I see. So what you see, what you're shown, you go on Amazon, you go on Jumia, you go on Konga, the things you're seeing, the adverts in your face, even on social media, are personalized because AI has gathered your data. And so it's showing you things that align with your interests. So again, you look over there, you see the financial services. I mean, all of us now do so many things in the financial space without really interacting with anybody. That is the power of AI right there. And that is also used to detect fraudulent activities. If someone is trying to hack into your account, it's AI that is helping them right there. Then transportation and logistics. AI is revolutionizing that. But those of some of us Africans who are still in in the space where these things might still sound like impossibilities, may just be wondering how is that revolutionizing transportation. But out there we see autonomous vehicles. In Dubai, for instance, I understand it's been over 10, 12 years where their trains are being, are autonomous. There's no driver on trains in Dubai, right? And it's been over 10 years. But in this part of the world, in Africa, I don't know whether we're there yet, but we will get there. So far, AI continues to advance and Africa continues to embrace it. Then we have smart cities. Yes, this one, I'm sure many people in Nigeria and some parts of Africa already have this. We have at least smart homes, smart offices, where we use IoT and embedded systems with AI to control what happens in our homes, using Alexas and all of that. And even in the larger scale of smart city planning and infrastructure, urban planning, traffic management, energy consumption, all of those things, you see AI on your face every day. So education and skills development, the heat of COVID, we're all at home, but a lot of people who were advanced continued. They didn't get disrupted. They didn't miss a term or a session and all of that. And now AI is even personalizing learning. You go online, there's so many courses you can take. There's so many AI-driven platforms that once you search for a particular thing, they start showing you that kind of thing. They see that's where your interest lies. They start giving you such adverts, and you can learn, you can develop yourself. So, and then environmental impact, and then finally, cybersecurity and defense. The military around the world is leveraging the power of AI, using drones, gathering intelligence, detecting fraud and threats, even real time. So with all of this, you see that AI is here to stay. So you have to acknowledge that it's here. And then you now start thinking about, okay, how can you be part of what is happening? So here again, I just try to give common examples. A lot of you have a Siri, Apple Siri, or Amazon Alexa, or all of those AI assistants. Even Google has its own, where you just speak and then it responds. You interact with devices, give a command, and then it's helping you do whatever you need. Then many of us have Netflix, for instance. Have you wondered why Netflix shows you certain movies, it doesn't show the other person? And when you go on Netflix, you set up your accounts according to your preferences, and it continues to show you such things that are aligned with your preferences, relevant suggestions, because it's using data sets that it gathers from your interaction to show you things that are more accurate and precise to what you're looking for. We are talking about AI apps. I mean, a lot of us have that. Photos, videos, script writing, ChatGPT, and all of that. Now AI is learning to analyze complex data so that it can even, perform the most delicate surgeries, I understand, in the healthcare system. So AI-powered, self-driving cars, Tesla and co are working very hard on that. We've seen some samples. And very soon, that is going to be impacting drivers, right? So you see that every day AI is impacting you, is affecting how we work, how we relate, how we live. But now in Africa, are we just going to sit around and enjoy the AI designed elsewhere? I just try to look, what are the key things that actually impede AI adoption, not just adoption, but for Africa to drive AI, to domesticate AI, and all of those things. I see skills gap. How many people, in fact, we still talk about digital divide, we talk about digital illiteracy in Africa. So, but today we're talking about artificial intelligence. For you to command a machine, write the software that will program machines and program IoTs and embedded systems, you need to acquire the right skills, the software skills, you need to understand the machine language and all of that. So skills gap is a major thing in Africa. Another thing I see is data scarcity and the quality of data. Here, our data, the ones that are very, the ones that we have are not quite, they don't match. In fact, they're not uniform. So it's difficult to actually use it to train and to program these machines, because the AI is functioning, is dependent on data, is dependent on the quality of data gathered, the quality of data with which the machine is trained, right? So data scarcity and quality of data is a problem in Africa still. So these are challenges. Of course, we have the ethical concerns of fairness. If you feed your machines with masculine focused data, then it will give you masculine focused results. If you do for a certain gender, it will do you understand? So there are ethical concerns around fairness, around biases. So for us to really get there, we talk about data, we talk about skills that understand this data analysis, data gathering, programming languages, and all of that. Then security and privacy, is a global challenge right now. And you see the leading nations, the US, the European nations, for instance, they have huge regulatory requirements that big technology companies are required to abide by. But here in Africa, how are we managing our data? Yeah, there are privacy laws here and there. Implementation and enforcement is still a bit shaky, in my opinion. So job displacement and the economic impact, yes, we might encounter more job displacement in the meantime, because we are yet to, reskill and upskill and cross-skill, as the case may be. Then the digital divide and infrastructure. We're talking about artificial intelligence, and we are speaking to a bulk of the population that don't even have internet access, that don't even have the devices, whether smartphones or laptops, or that don't even have the electricity, the power to even log on and join this meeting at the least. Sometimes you want to train people free of charge, but then you realize it's not just the training, because they don't even have the devices to actually join the classes. They don't have internet. So you see that the problems are, for us Africans, a lot more. So then we have the cultural and societal acceptance. I think this one, well, over time, there will always be people that when you're telling them they have to speak to a machine and use an app to analyze what's happening to them, they wouldn't understand that, right? So it will take time to really overcome that cultural and societal acceptance. So right there, I have this thing that I said, that AI adoption in Africa raises concerns about job displacement. But while some traditional jobs may face disruption, if you pay attention, you see a wave of new opportunities are emerging. And just like Prof spoke earlier, AI will not quite replace human, in my opinion, because I think humans will always, program AI. Humans will maintain the AI systems. Humans will be required to even gather the data and feed the machines and all of that. So while for me, I just think I see AI as an inseparable helping hand. It's just going to be there to assist with predefined tasks, especially those routine tasks. But humans will be humans, and humans will be responsible for decision making, for those things that require emotions, for those things that require high level of creativity, different kinds of creativity. Because I think machines is like a garbage in, garbage out. What you give machine is what it will give you back, or what it will learn. For instance, if you go on ChatGPT and type in certain things, it will tell you based on my knowledge as at maybe 2022, something like that. So meaning that the machine needs someone to come and update the data for it to give you something accurate. So right there, you see that replacing human is not going to be that easy. It's just going to be a case of shifting responsibilities and then requiring humans to continue to upskill in the areas that the machine cannot easily take over, right? So here for me, now we've enumerated these problems. What are we looking at? How can Africa, bridge the AI skills gap and empower the Africa's workforce? So right here, I just try to put them in buckets. One is educational and skill development programs. It's very important. Africa needs to skill up. Considering the population we have, young people who are energetic and enthusiastic, we need them to be at the driver's seat of technological revolution. And for instance, in Anambra State, that's what we are doing right now. The focus on AI and other emerging technologies, the curricula in schools, what does it look like? Specialized training, workshops, seminars to create awareness and to upskill people, even to upskill people who are currently working. Then the other one is partnership with industry. That PPP is required to understand the industry skill needs of today, so that the people being trained and trained for the industry are trained for the workforce, so that they don't come out to meet the labor market and their skills are already obsolete. So internships also help for people to upskill and to also get the jobs. Then research and development, this is required to encourage innovation so that we won't just talk about it, but we would practice it. We will iterate, we would learn, we will train the machines on our own, we will come up with our own technology so that the world will consume what is also coming out of Africa, and that will also foster continuous learning. Then infrastructural development, the broadband, the Wi-Fi network, the labs, the equipped labs, labs equipped with software, hardware, all the things that support technological advancement. And then you talk about the gadgets, the gadgets, right? That's where people will write the softwares and all of that will control these machines. And then government policies. The government needs to be intentional about making policies that drive. Like now, there's an AI policy in the US, there's the EU AI Act, but most countries in Africa are only starting right now. But that's a good start. So we're making the right policies to drive the direction we want to go, to show that Africa we're not just there, but we are making progress. So such policies to encourage adoption, creation, innovation, entrepreneurship, building of startup solutions, and all of these things. It's policies that would inspire young people to actually wake up and think, and wake up and act. And of course, this also includes an avenue where they can actually go and make this mistake. Because trust me, you saw the evolution of AI as I showed you. It did not start today, but today it looks like we woke up one day and saw it. So for Africa to catch up, we need to actually drive, support, make the policies that we intentionally move Africa in that direction, move countries in that direction, move the states in that direction. And in Anambra State, we are quite intentional about those kinds of policies. Then tax breaks for businesses, that will help businesses to start, contributing part of their CSR towards supporting technological education, towards supporting initiative. Because now a lot of people need to be trained out of school for us to catch up. A lot of young people, young Africans are no longer in school right now, but they need to upskill. So, but if businesses, if the corporates are supporting this AI education, technological education, and initiatives, it will help us make progress, faster. So, and I would like to be concluding from here. This is a beautiful picture from Anambra State. At the center there is Mr. Governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, who is quite intentional about driving technological innovation, AI, robotics, cybersecurity. Because while we're talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about cybersecurity, because the space needs to be secured for whatever you're training your machine on to work. Otherwise, you have hackers destroy your work. So here in Anambra State, for instance, we're doing quite a bit around that space. We are training young people. So if you look at that picture, you would have seen the Anambra Digital Tribe. So we are grooming a tribe we call the Anambra Digital Tribe. These are people who are competent in various digital skills, artificial intelligence inclusive. Right now, Code Anambra is ongoing, and artificial intelligence is one of the courses, and cybersecurity is one of the courses, and it's totally free to the people of Anambra State. So this is just to give an example of how Anambra as a state is already intentionally making progress in that space. And this one, the Light of the Nation bulb, just shows a snapshot of what we do in Anambra State towards promoting innovation, towards promoting technology, and towards channeling the youth in the direction we want them to go. So right here, as Africa embraces AI, if you look on the left there, you see the key benefits. Of course, I had gone over this before. It improves efficiency, productivity, drives innovation, data and automation. And then you see the challenges down there: the bias and fairness, the job displacement, privacy concerns, security risk, ethical concerns. But as we are considering to embrace AI and to drive AI, we see ethical framework needs to be established to govern the development and the use of AI. So it will be responsible and it will be fair. So the regulation and the oversight mechanisms to address potential risks and ensure compliance with ethical standards. Then education and training. People need to know what it is, know how to be part of it, know how to drive it, and know how it affects them. As you see all the free apps and you're just clicking accept. Do you know what you're accepting? Do you know the information you're exchanging for that free app? So this education and training is important to bridge the skills gap and also to create awareness for people to be more cyber aware. And then transparency, encouraging transparency in AI systems, making it clear how decisions are made, enabling users to understand and trust technology. So, and in conclusion, how prepared is Africa to use AI as a catalyst for opportunities and development? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to conclude here by using our example again as Solution Innovation District in Anambra State, where we are intentionally activating and developing a dynamic and inclusive ecosystem of the future. For many of you that may not know, our goal here in Anambra State is that in the future, in the near future, in a very short time, Anambra becomes the go-to place for the supply of talents, of skills on various technological areas, which includes artificial intelligence, the cybersecurity, the robotics, blockchain, data science, and all of that. And because we have where we're going towards building our own Silicon Valley, here we are investing in the enabling infrastructure, in digital skills training, inclusive education, even free education to JSS 3, local solution, and actively building an ecosystem that empower more startups and entrepreneurs. And I think as we are, pushing for this in Africa, AI and the workforce in Africa, these are the kind of models that other states and other countries should be adopting, in addition to creating the regulations and the policies that support it. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chinwe. There is no doubt in the fact that you are so passionate about the AI, and we could see what it can do. There are a lot of things, from there. It's not something to be afraid of. AI, whether we like it or not, is there with us. You are going to breathe it. We are going to feel it. We are going to see it, whether we like it or not. I think that's the message that we're getting. We are going to go to question and answer later. Please don't worry about that. I'm going to call on Mr. Modele now. Jide, please, for your presentation. Then after that, we go into question and answer for our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and thanks for having me once again. I think the better part of my work today has been done by Dr. and Chinwe through their very elaborate and eloquent discussion around AI. So, I should be able to complete my session in less than 10 minutes. I'd like to start by thanking Doctor for his introduction, Prof, sorry, for his introduction to the context of AI in Africa and the proverb that he used to, kick off the opening remark around the history for Africa being told. One of the biggest challenges, in my view, and I say this more as a practitioner in the industry and less as an expert in AI, is the lack of infrastructure to support the growth, organic growth and development of AI in such a way that it addresses the African narrative. There are two critical issues that AI has that people have struggled with in the AI world in recent times, and that's been the issue of context and the issue of context and the issue of ethics, being able to decipher what the definition of right or wrong is. And this issue of context is largely a bias issue. We know AI is basically training an algorithm or a robot for use of a different term to learn and improve on the way in which it does something. But the training set, the data set that it uses is crucial to the success of that robot. And for Africa, we're still late in the game in the area of infrastructure. One of the things that accelerated the growth of AI in recent times has been COVID. COVID accelerated the shift of a lot of people to the cloud technology, trusting information into the cloud space. And then we also saw advancement in data processing, large volume data processing by many of the cloud architects. However, because of some of the cultural norms we have in Africa, we don't tell our own stories. We don't document things. We don't create data. Even through normal feedback system, a lot of us still lag behind the developed world in providing updates or information around how things affect us. And to look at the AI intelligence issue, if we don't solve the infrastructure problem, we will continue to lag behind in the ability to capture data. How do we capture data? And data has changed it's rapidly changing in formats, from text-based data to motion, to visual, to audio. All of this data is used to train AI algorithms to solve specific use cases. So if Africa is not generating its own data to train these algorithms, the bias issue will not be solved. A lot of development has been done in the area of context. The ChatGPT version 4 has demonstrated the capabilities to build context through some historical assessment. But the question is, in all of that context, where is Africa's data? How are we using the intelligence that artificial intelligence is generating to solve Africa's problem if Africa is underrepresented in this training space? One of the things one of the critical areas that I hope to talk about is around the risks and then opportunities that AI introduces to our space, especially for the future of work in Africa. There's been a lot of talk around artificial intelligence and its capability to disrupt, and a lot of people are also trying to get on that bandwagon. There's a fear of missing out. So, everybody is now throwing AI as a buzzword into so many conversations, including products and services. Right now, we're getting to a stage where, if you want to sell a bag of rice, just, put on it that, the rice engineering was developed by AI. You will probably catch someone's attention and drive up sales. And that also leads to some of the trends we've seen in the past, where a buzz towards something creates an artificial bubble. We saw that bubble when the internet developed, and we now saw the .com era, and a lot of people jumped on that formal fear of missing out wagon and started creating ideas and ideologies and started increasing valuation until the global economy collapsed because everybody was running towards the smoke that that was happening. And we also saw something similar with crypto. When crypto came and people started talking about cryptography and the opportunities that cryptography was going to create and the blockchain, everybody ran towards it, and then we blew the crypto valuation, from a less than $1 billion realistic valuation to over $90 billion in a very, very short period. And we also saw the effect. So it's likely that in coming years, we are going to see ourselves in an AI bubble, and it would also have its effects. There's the issue of counterintuition, and one of Prof's slides spoke about this in very, very brilliant context. Are we truly learning, or is the machine using us to learn? There was an episode I had. My organization runs a training academy, and in one of the classes, I was facilitating the class, and I threw out a question to the class, and it was a set of 4 questions, 30 minutes, and in one of the responses, there were 20 people in this class. When I was reviewing the responses, I saw a response that was so apt, so delicately and eloquently constructed that I was amazed. I was like, we have some genius in this class. But then again, it occurred to me and said, in 30 minutes, it is not possible for anyone in that class, not even me, that that was facilitating the class, who come up with that. I now decided to find out where the smoking gun was. So I went on ChatGPT and asked the question, and voila, so that issue of plagiarism. So when we're doing the review of the class, I asked the whole class to a class of 20. I asked for 3 volunteers to talk about their submission, and you would expect that someone who had delivered something that was top notch will be one of the first to offer. This gentleman didn't. And then after the 3 who volunteered to speak had done, and I now stepped up and I called him and I said, please speak about your work. And he struggled. He couldn't say anything. And I called him out and I said, do you know why I did this? It's because even if you used your, intuition to get AI, ChatGPT, to solve the problem for you, between your submission and now the review, which is 2 weeks later, you should have at least gone to own what you submitted, go to learn it. So we're beginning to see where we may start to see the cognitive capabilities of our youth start to recede, because people are now tending to go through the easier path. And we're beginning to see a lot of this cheats happen, especially with job applications, where people know that a lot of employers are using AI to sift through CVs. So they doctor their CV by asking AI to write the CV in such a way that another AI will understand and push up. They're gaming the system, which isn't bad, if you can back up what you have on that CV. And one of the things that I've realized, that we are the humans, we are the smart ones, we're the ones with the natural intelligence. However, all of us, every single one of us, are training artificial intelligence every single day. Every time someone is posting something and you're liking it and you're going into the store to pick out something, people have developed algorithms to watch us. We are actually the specimen. Robots are watching us, watching our patterns, and they're learning who we are, how we think, how we relate, how we operate, such that the robot can build a pattern around our preferences, how we make decisions, and replicate that and repeat it. And the truth of the matter is that 90% of jobs could easily be replicated that way, because everything is based on repeatable patterns. But here's where the challenge is. There was a lot of noise recently when OpenAI ousted their CEO. And experts in the industry speculated that part of what the CEO was trying to promote was an innovation, which is a breakthrough in the ability for artificial intelligence to learn. One of the biggest contributions that we as humans contribute to the entire field of artificial intelligence is being able to create the right type of data set for the AI to learn and solve the right problems. But guess what? There's already speculations around Q-star. Q-star is a concept where the artificial intelligence is able to learn and then now interact with other AI models to write training data for it to improve on what it's doing. meaning we're looking at a stage in future where the AI will no longer need humans to train it on a lot of things that we do today. And, where is all this leading us? I love where in one of Dr. slides, one of Prof's slides, where he spoke about the leap. You need to know where things are going. One of the biggest, potentials that we have, Prof spoke about it, Chinwe eloquently discussed this, is the youthful potential that Africa has. However, is that potential still a blessing? Because it's actually being challenged. The leading nations are realizing, and COVID made this very, very apparent, that the future, of world economy and, dominance is going to be people, the digital natives. So they're beginning to develop a model that will place less reliance or dependence on humans to get things done, because their population is aging and their workforce is depleting, and they're using software, robots. We've left the industrial age. We're in a digital age. So that idea that a youthful population, strength in numbers, will give us an advantage is now being challenged. It's no longer about the numbers, it's about the capabilities. It's not about the size of the people, it's about the quality of the people. So until that youthful population who were born, as Prof described, born into the digital age, take full advantage of the ecosystem that they were born into, the future for Africa, in my view, has a lot of work to do for us to be, to be competitive. And, this also poses a question for those, professionals like Mrs. Ibrahim in the HR, human capital development, and also, Prof, and thought leaders like Chinwe who are helping develop capacities. How are we evolving the competencies such that from our institutions of learning to the courses and training programs and shortlisting of candidates, that component of how our employees, our workforce, our youthful population start to lean towards understanding and adopting and driving the narrative around automation and artificial intelligence. These have become very, very valuable imperatives that we all have to answer from a national level and to our various spheres. It is rare, and this is my my last slide. It is rare that you have one technology in itself create a disruption. AI is one part of what I still call the big three. And until we start to see the convergence and the fusion of that big three, we're not seeing the full potential of AI. And my charge to this listening audience, to our leaders in Africa, is where is the convergence between artificial intelligence and machine learning, the blockchain technology, and quantum computing? Because the moment quantum computing gets into this discipline, into this game, it changes what we know as AI will be a joke. It's going to change in huge leaps. What is this trajectory? How are we learning to understand this and how this introduces a new phase of disruption? In Africa, we've been a net consumer. If we adopt the approach of leaping the industrial age and taking advantage of our digital age, we stand our first chance of being a net producer. We have the population of digital natives, people who are hungry, who find it easier to understand these technologies. How are we positioning this such that our continent becomes a key driver in the digital age? There are so many use cases that we've seen today. Chinwe spoke about a lot of them. How are these use cases now solving problems for us in Africa? Many of the use cases in AI are that I have seen employed in different domains in Africa are cosmetic. They are solving problems outside the shores of Africa. How are we biasing this such that we are solving Africa's problem and using intelligent ways of, moving our people out of the narrative where the underpopulation, the poor education, the developmental challenges that were that Chinwe mentioned in her documentation, are addressed using this homegrown solution. And then lastly, for people like Prof, how do we challenge our learning and development such that there is a huge shift from what we've always defined as curriculum in our institutions of learning, such that it helps us bridge that quantum leap and solves this digital divide. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jide. Thank you. What a perspective. AI and the future of Africa. How is it affecting us? How are we optimizing it? How are we going to use technology to better our continent? To better our continent. So we'll go into the Q&A. And I'm going to direct the first question to you, Jide. It's a bit technical, so I think you are the best to take it, even though it was addressed to Chinwe. But let's say Chinwe, Jide, to you. It goes, based on your definition of deep learning, how do you separate reinforcement learning from deep learning? Are there overlaps? Can you clarify, please?
Okay, so the question again is the separation of reinforcement learning from deep learning. Okay.
Deep learning, what's the difference?
Yeah, so reinforcement learning basically uses iterations of data sets to improve upon the quality of an algorithm. And typically, reinforcement learning can also layer different types of algorithm upon themselves. Algorithms are most of them are specific in nature. An algorithm, behind algorithms are usually mathematical concepts. And then some of these mathematical concepts are better suited to solving some problems. So for example, if I have a number of options and I want something to help me pick which is the best, there's an algorithm that's good at that. If I want to observe a pattern, there's another algorithm that's good at that, and so on and so forth. But rarely are problems one-dimensional. So people need to layer one algorithm, tune it, and then another algorithm, then tune it, and that's where reinforcement learning helps. It's building on the thought trajectory. However, deep learning uses a complex web of algorithms. The truth of the matter is that those who have architected deep learning cannot tell you how it solves the problem. The AI owns the algorithms and is able to redistribute the problem it wants to solve across multiple layers. So with reinforcement learning, it's easy for the people who've designed the architecture to tell you what is going on, how one led to the other. You can deduce how a solution was arrived at. But with deep learning, it's near impossible. It's near impossible.
Thank you, Jide. The second question I will direct to Professor. So it goes thus. Regarding AI adoption in Africa, my question is, can we develop at our own pace? Can we in Africa afford the massive job losses and the labor union disruptions AI may cause? I'm drawing a direct parallel with the Paris Accord and the climate change argument, which while I went off internet, sorry, that's Africa for you. Prof, please go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think the first thing, and I really first want to applaud my two co-presenters, Chinwe and Jide, for really fleshing out this very interesting topic. Is AI needs to grow out of homegrown needs or challenges. I think what happens is we look at AI as if it's something that you import without first establishing the basis for the need. We also have, let me give the case study of Kenya. The president of Kenya recently, that's President William Ruto, went on a tour of certain countries, including Germany and the Middle East. And he actually secured deals which granted young Kenyans jobs. But one of the debates that we've been having is the jobs that the Kenyans are getting are more or less the traditional jobs. So it means that after a while, when all these young people go out there, they will actually more or less become redundant if they are not smart enough to understand the technological needs of that society that they're going into. So we actually currently recalibrating some of our curricula to equip some of these young potential job seekers, not only with languages and other cultural and societal tools, but also the technical tools to use artificial intelligence and specifically using cloud computing applications, so that when they move into these places, they're not just doing the so-called manual work, which some of these countries want us to do. Simultaneously, the Kenya now has a ministry which has a department of digital economy and creative industries. And what has happened is there's been a huge shift. My university, for example, has 3 labs now. We also teach cybersecurity. We teach cloud computing applications. We're using them to solve problems around food security and agriculture, as well as space surveillance, which helps us monitor livestock and also wildlife, so that we can produce solutions that benefit us. All these are cloud supported tools. Of course, Modele, open distance and e-learning is a big one, which has been there since time immemorial. As well as just looking at how health and well-being can also be impacted using cloud computing services. So if, for example, Kenya is sending nurses to Germany, and those nurses, they only know the traditional sense of care, but they do not have, they don't know how to use health information systems that link them to the networks that actually support the patients or the people they're caring for. They will have a limited shelf life, and that is unfortunate. I also want to agree with what was said by both Jide and Chinwe, that our youthful population, Africa being the youngest continent, could be both a dividend or also it could also be a time bomb. It all depends on how we equip these young people to own these digital spaces. We were saying how, because Africa is one of the last regions to really get into this space, we could leapfrog, but we have to be very strategic. We have to be very determined. I think the example Chinwe gave us of how the governor of that particular state is championing. We need our leaders, our academicians, our researchers to actually take the lead in championing some of these directions. Otherwise, what will happen, we'll talk about it, we'll see opportunities come and go. And in another 10, 15 years, if we miss that boat, that dividend that we had actually becomes a time bomb, a ticking time bomb, and we have to be wise. We need to recurriculate our programs to embrace AI. We need to recurriculate even the jobs we're doing presently to go, even if it's just simple things like digitization and digitalization of public services. Like you don't have to go look for an ID by filling forms. You can do all that online. And Kenya has onboarded quite a bit of that on the system. So we need to train our youth to own that space and actually to innovate so that they can actually help us create applications that make it easier for our citizens to benefit from their knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for that response. Before I come to Chinwe, Jide, there was a response to your feedback. I mean, the answer you gave. And it goes thus. In response to your question, if we are learning or machines are learning from us, perhaps the machines are truly learning from us. how else would you explain computers asking humans to prove they are not robots? It sounds more like a comment than a question.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, just very briefly. One of the things that had been discussed earlier on, and I think Dr. touched on it, and that's the conviviality. There are certain things that you can mimic effectively, and there are certain things that you just can't. There are things that are attributes of a living being. The emotions come into play. As much as a robot or an algorithm can repeat a lot of patterns, it cannot take decisions based on emotions. And that alone creates a context that machine learning cannot replicate or has not been able to replicate. So it is possible for you to be able to decipher between a robot and a human based on the capability to put an emotional consideration in decision making.
Thanks, Judy. So we have 2 more questions then for Chinwe. What are the practical steps an African youth who study traditional courses like law build themselves for the future to avoid a situation of being left behind due to AI?
Okay, thank you very much. I should go ahead because you said 2. I should go ahead and respond to this, right?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for African youth, I mean, it's the norm that many young people found themselves in, I mean, not in the digital skills space as we see, as well as it is. Myself, I studied economics, for instance, and I went on to study public policy and all of that. But for the past probably 7-8 years, I've been working in the technology and innovation space. So as a lawyer, like someone that wrote the question says, as a lawyer or any other course that is traditional in that sense, you can always upskill. And the same steps you take is first off awareness. At least the fact that you want to upskill means that you know the opportunities, you know what it means for you, you know how it impacts you, you know how you don't necessarily need to throw away whatever traditional course you studied like a lawyer. You now be asking yourself first off, how does technology impact you? How does technology influence your profession? In the advent of, since COVID-19, we see lawyers delivering judgment online. We see even in Nigeria here some judgment around elections. Tribunals were delivered over Zoom and all of that. So we're talking about data gathering. You need all the information, you need the data. I think over time, lawyers need to now de-emphasize the stack of books that you always see in the chambers, because now they're embracing technology. So you don't necessarily need all of those things. So first off is awareness. Now you know you need to upskill. Second is find out there are so many skills. There are coding skills and there are no coding digital skills. So which ones are you interested in? So the other thing, next step is to even understand what they are. So we're saying cybersecurity, blockchain, machine learning, digital marketing, SEO optimization, and you're confused as a lawyer. What does all this even mean? And how do they even relate to me? So first, the other second thing is to even take your time you can go on Google if you don't have any other place to learn. Go on Google, go on YouTube, type out what are the digital skills, then try to understand what each is even about. What is it about? So those that require coding and those that don't require coding. And then, do you have the bandwidth for coding? Trust me, coding is not rocket science. If you give it 4 months, you see yourself coding, really. So it's no rocket science. Just like if I'm not a lawyer, I can't go to defend anybody. So it's scary for me as a barrister to think about possibility of going to the law court to win a case. That's just how it is. Many people tend to fear the coding courses, the software engineering courses and all of that, just because they haven't giving themselves the opportunity to learn. So if you understand these different skills, the ones that require coding and the no code ones, that will help you to see where you place yourself, which one excites you more. Because one thing you don't want to do is to get stuck with skill set that you don't even understand, you don't even like. It feels like a chore each time you're doing it. You should be able to enjoy what it is you're doing. So by the time you know all of this, list them all out and maybe choose a top 3 for yourself first off, and then start eliminating from there to say which one it is you want to go with, or which one complements your course right now. Like for me as an economist, naturally, data science complements what I'm doing. Data analysis complements my first course, for instance. So, and then the other thing is now to find, next step is to find, where do you learn this? Do you want to learn it online? Do you have the resources to learn it online? Do you have internet? There's so many courses, so many. In fact, many of them are free. Some of them require you to pay a token. So you can learn from home, from office, or you can identify hubs or centers near you that teach those courses, and you start. And then you join communities. Communities help to keep you accountable, keep you motivated. You see other people that didn't know jack like you as they transform to become the experts. So that keeps you motivated. And then you start attending events related, events, tech-related events, AI-related events, whatever, conferences, workshops, meetups, and all of that. That will help you even surprise yourself in a very short time. I think that helps. I mean, if you follow those steps, you see yourself you see yourself transform to becoming a techie, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Chinwe.
Let me,
Thank you,
if you don't mind.
Okay.
May I just
go ahead.
Can I just share a word on that answer or that
yes,
question?
Please.
Just very
yes, please.
quickly. So
yes, please.
AI is still in a transitional phase. It is solving some problems, but it's not solving all problems. And there's still a level of speculation around how much or how well people can trust AI. There's been a lot of buzz around AI in recent times because of ChatGPT, but we've all been using AI for donkey years. Trust me, every time you get on an aircraft and the pilot turns on autopilot, that is artificial intelligence. That is the aircraft using computers, software, algorithms to adjust your flight. But for all the years that autopilot has been available on aircraft, no airline will put an aircraft in the air without putting a human there. So there's still a lot we need to go through before people can trust AI with life-challenging issues, which in this instance, like law, is, you cannot afford to make a mistake. I was speaking with a top US law firm recently, and the head of enterprise architecture was telling me, he said, look, Chide, one of the problems that we have is we want to convert all our cases. This law firm has been in practice for over a century, over 100 years. They said they have a lot of data, but they want to turn it into AI so that it's easier for their lawyers to quickly reach decisions based on patterns and historical cases. But their concern is, how do they protect their intellectual property? That the kind of partners that they will work with can intend to own that intellectual property. But in training the algorithm that's going to manage those cases, they're going to need real lawyers. Real lawyers are going to, determine cases that, AI has done and determine whether, the merits of the legal practice has actually been followed through. And that way, reinforcement happens until the AI can be trusted. So there's still a lot of work that all of us need to do to enhance the quality of decisions that are made by AI within our practice. We don't all have to become developers or programmers, but because we are the subject matter experts in those domains, we can't tell the robot where it's making right decisions and the wrong decisions until we get to a point where we can't trust decisions that are made by the artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Jide. I like to tell talent each time I have the opportunity that you don't necessarily have to pivot into other career lines just because you are looking for how technology, can be useful to you as a talent within your space as well. You can explore how technology can aid your efficiency. The next question is also for Chinwe, and it reads thus: poor societal values and continued disobedience to lay down rules trump the ease of harnessing the benefits of technology adoption, including AI. What efforts has the Anambra state government made to create an exemplary roadmap for the teeming youth to build a wealth of moral values in the youth? Did you get that?
Thank you very much. Yes, I got that. That's from Ikechukwu, and this is like a mix of two things, from technology to moral values. So poor societal values and continued disobedience to lay down rules, I think, is something that is prevalent among many of the young people, and either inspired by youthful exuberance or peer pressure and all of those things. And so that kind of redirects some people from even doing, oh my God, now we're in Africa. Wait, let me turn on my light. All right. Confirm you can still see me. All right. So
yes, we can.
Yeah, so that makes us see young people, some of them who even has some idea about technology, instead of using it for the positives, we see them deviating, using it negatively, right? And what are we doing in Anambra State? First off, it's all about continuous engagement. Is a mindset reorientation thing, first off. And that's why you see, even beyond Anambra State, you see a lot of young people, they don't want to go the longer routes. They want it quick, right now, sharp. They don't want to wait for some months to pick up skills, to now start earning money. They want, in fact, sometimes you might see that you have a course free of charge for a young person to come and learn. He's not quite interested in that course right now. He's interested in the money or whatever else you can give after that course or before they do that course, forgetting that after that course, if they do it well and get employment, they can earn much more than whatever stipend you would have given them ordinarily. And so this is about societal values, and trust me, is not going to be the effort of only the state government, because values and orientation starts from the cradle, starts from home, starts from school and all of that. So while the state is making his own effort through value reorientation and engaging at every time he has and every chance he gets with young people, families, you yourself that ask this question, people around you, the younger ones around you, you have a role to play in making them understand, in making them see the difference. And sometimes, again, the poor societal values is actually impacted on these younger ones by the older ones, by the way we exhibit things, by the way we make things look easier than they truly are. We tend to promote the successes, but not the struggles we went through before we got there. Like if you go on Instagram, everybody's posting how when they bought a car, when they unveiled a new house. But nobody's telling you how many years it had taken them to build that house. They're not telling you how many years all the struggles, all the lessons, all the things they've passed through before they got there. So the young people just seeing that, they just want to be like that person right now. And then you're telling them to come and learn AI for the next 6 months, so that it will look like a long time, the 6 months. So what we do in Anambra State is to continue to engage. For every time we have programs for young people, that kind of conversation, the mindset reorientation kind of conversation always precedes, because we're trying to make them see the benefit for what it is, to see and appreciate the journey that they have to take to get to the ultimate destination we want them to get to. So that's what we're doing, and I actually implore you to support however you can. Even from how you portray yourself on social media, you can be influencing someone without knowing. So it's an ongoing process, and is a collective effort for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinwe. This brings us to the end of the Q&A. Now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Yoda. Dr. Yoda, over to you.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful program. Lots to discuss, lot to learn, but I believe we cannot all the time. If it's allocated to us, we're still not finished. So I want to thank all the panelists. Professor Mugendi said something. He said, tomorrow belongs to those who plan for it today. And if there is anything we all need to take as our take-home, is for us to know that tomorrow truly belongs to those who plan for it today. So are we planning for it? You don't have to be a programmer. You don't have to be a software engineer before you can use AI. I think the basic thing is try to see how you can leverage, how you can integrate AI into everything that you do. AI has come to change how we do things. They use AI to write the American bar exam. And guess what? The result was such that AI beat 99% of those who sat for the exam. It's the reality of our time. Thank you, Jide, for talking about how lawyers are integrating AI. Now, as a matter of fact, some of the professions that AI is going to disrupt very, very seriously will be law, accounting, consulting, and all of that. There is a big debate, even in the consulting world, to say, okay, there is a problem that my organization is facing and I want to employ you as a consultant. Do you really need to dig deep? Or can we harvest all the consulting knowledge that you have and within seconds, AI is able to give you an exact solution to a problem that you are facing? In your education, how do you use AI? We designed these webinars in such a way that we brought somebody from academics, somebody from the industry, core industry, and someone from public policy. I want to thank all of you for being a part of today's webinar. We really appreciate you. The webinar is going to be available YouTube, so you can listen to it if you need to. And if any of you have any questions that you want us to answer, directly, you can send us email, and those questions will be answered. At Brute Consulting, I want to thank all of you very much. On a lighter note, the last time I was in Kenya, I saw a big signboard, and in that signboard is an insurance company. An insurance company said, tell ChatGPT that so insurance company is the third largest insurance company in Africa. That is quite interesting. That is part of what AI can do. That today I can feed and said, guess what? The most beautiful lady in Nigeria is Chinwe Okoli, and all of us put in there. That's what AI is going to recognize. And somebody asked a question. Will AI not actually affect human intelligence? Thank you, Chinwe, for laughing. Will AI not affect human intelligence? Yes. Like Jide said, you can leverage AI, but how can it affect our intelligence? Professor Wole Soyinka sometimes ago said that we are producing this is the age of idiots. Why? Because some is garbage in, garbage as some of us are doing. AI can help efficiency, can help productivity, but there is that part of you, the creative part of you, that will enable you to fine-tune what you got from AI. You must be able to use various AI products. You must be able to use AI to improve your productivity. And once you are able to do that, without you sitting on the fence, you will not be disrupted. And like all the panelists have said, you need to continue to upskill. We need to continue to build on our skill. That is the challenge that we have for Africa. It was Mugendi or Jide who said that, is African population, youthful population, is it actually a blessing to us? Or will it be a curse? That is no longer the quantity or the quantum of the African youth that we have, but it's the quality. And our challenge to all of us this evening is that let us upskill so that Africa can be not the next importer of things as we always have it, but let us leapfrog and become the net exporters of skills, of knowledge. Thank you again for being a part of today's webinar. We hope to see you again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.